Hello, hello everybody. Thank you so much for being here. My name is Goose. I'm hosting this book launch. What days we're living, what days we're living. So yes, Naomi made me on the Trans-Siberian Express train in 2015. Whew, I was made from an old sweater. And I'm straight from Eden, actually. But I know you're not here to learn about me. You're here to be with Naomi. So just give me another little moment of technical kind of, effort. And I'll turn this computer around and we'll get on with the book launch. Yay! Woo! Yeah. Whew. Just gotta go over here. Whew. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. It's a real pleasure. And I can hardly believe that we've made it. We're here online together. It's pretty special to be able to bring this book, Goosefeather, Once Upon a Cartographic Adventure, to you. I'm not sure where you are in digital media land, but I'm here in the generative nest, which is located on the supernatural, unceded Coast Salish territories. And I'm totally thrilled to be here. Oh, Naomi, it's so good to be here with you. Um, and I wonder if people are curious. I just wanted to mention, have you seen about me on Naomi's Instagram page? If you go to hashtag NEPS, you just might find a photo of me being made on the Trans-Siberian Express. Thanks, Goose. Yeah, thanks for your enthusiasm. I'm so glad that that you're letting people know about hashtag NEPS on the Instagram. I'm actually here to talk about my book, and I first wanted to give a shout out to Shiho, Oshita, Beday. Those beautiful title cards that you saw were actually made by an artist in Japan, again in 2015 when I was going around the planet. And also a quick shout out to Aran and everybody over in England at in Bath at Fab Fringe Arts Bath. And Liz in Brighton for this fabric, which I wove into an installation when I was on the road. So that's part of Goosefeather's nest. And yeah, I carried all that on the road with me in those bags. But I'm sure there's lots of questions and lots of curiosities. That's why you're here. And hopefully we'll be able to get to those. Yeah, for sure. Naomi and I have planned different ways that you could engage with Q&A. You might want to check out the Naomi Eliana Facebook page, and then you could send comments and questions there. Yeah, or you could just hang out and listen to some book reading. Yeah, thanks so much. I think it might be helpful if we get ourselves kind of grounded together. What do you think, Goose? Oh, yeah. Maybe let's do some housekeeping. You all know where your bathrooms are, right? And you can get water if you need and make tea if you want. Those are important things. You're comfortable, you're watching, the sound is okay. Send comments to Naomi Eliana artist page on Facebook. Questions can go there too. Yeah, maybe let's breathe together. Everybody, where's your north? Well, mine's behind me, and my south is in front of me, and my east is to the left, and my west is to the right. So that's me, and you as well in your own circumference. And maybe we could breathe together a little bit, just breathing in and out, in and out. Thank you. So I know you all are here because I wrote a book, and I'm so glad to have you as witnesses to call in my sense of accomplishment. And yeah, it's a pretty thing, this book. There's its silver gilded edges, its cover, and its spine, and its back. There, see? NEPS. And, you know, I was born here in the city of Vancouver. My mother is born in France, so I'm also Jewish. And one thing that I learned growing up here on the West Coast, this beautiful Salish land, is you can measure your wisdom and you can measure your wealth by how much you give away. So it's not by how much you have, but by how much you give away. And so there's going to be a giveaway. I'm going to give away one of these books. And the way it's going to work is like this. So I want you to open up your ears wide, and because Because what you're going to do, or get a pen or get ready with your little device, because you're going to have to put in a phone number. Because basically the way it works is this: the fifth person who texts the name of someone they think would enjoy reading this book, Goosefeather, Once Upon a Cartographic Adventure, the fifth person to send a text message with the name of somebody who would enjoy this book wins. And the number you have to text it to, if you're ready with your paper and your pen or your device or whatever, it's 778-882-6376. Again, that's 778-882-6376. So you're going to text that fifth person. You're going to have a little chat with whomever is on the other side. Actually, it's my sister, bless Miriam. Thank you so much for the technical support. So you'll have a little back and forth with my sister. And at the end of this live stream launch, means at about 8:30-ish, or just before that, the winner will be announced. And not only that, but there'll be a live action signing. So you'll definitely want to stay tuned for that, and maybe tell your friends that this is happening. You can send the people to the YouTube link, and given that you have your pens ready, or maybe you're like ready with your screenshots, you can send people here to join this live stream, at the end of which there will be the giveaway and the live action signing. But that's enough of that. There's one more thing I want to do before getting into reading from the book. One more little thing. And, oh, yeah. I think many of you know that I have a 20-year career as a traditional storyteller. That means that for 20 years, I've been pulling from a repertoire of close to or more than 100 stories, traditional folk and fairy tales from around the planet. I celebrate all cultures and the wisdoms that they add to this great weaving, this great network, this great neural pathway, the great net of Indra, sparkling and scintillating with so much wisdom and so much beauty from all the stories around the planet. So anyways, when I do get to gather in Storytelling Circle, one of the things that I always like to do is to light a storytelling fire. And that's something that we can all do together right now. And it'll be real easy. All we got to do is we got to put our hands up, and then we clap them together once, and then we rub, 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 rub. And then on the count of 3, 1, 2, 3, whoosh, we'll send that good energy straight from our hearts, from the story hearth, right, through those digital airwaves out into the world. And we know we need it right now. We need our resilience. We need our willingness to show up. We need our willingness to do the heavy work. There's a lot of good work needs doing, and we all of us can contribute in our beautiful way. So we're going to have hands up, clap together, send that out on the digital airwaves. Our story fire will be lit. And what do you think, Goose? Oh yeah, that sounds great, Naomi. That's exactly what we planned. Okay, so here we go. We're just gonna do that. Yeah, you know, because I tried to bring my storytelling skill to the writing, and so it's in the same way, you know, should those stories inside those pages between those covers, should they go out into the world and find their legs and have a good dance? And there we go. So anyways, hands up, clap them together, rub, 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 and on the count of 3, we're going to send that through the digital airwaves, lighting our story fire. 1, 2, 3. Again. That's right. You can put your wings up. You can put your hands up. Hands up. Clap them together. Rub, 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 rub. And then on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. And then a third time, just for good luck, we're going to put our hands up. And we're going to really reach deep into our heart, deep into all that sorrow and grieving and hard times and loss and solidarity and advocacy and celebration and seeing each other. And we're going to send that through. So hands up, clap together, rub, 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 heart to fire, hearth fire. 1, 2, 3. Thought I'd read right from the start. This is even before the pagination. It's the page that some of you may have already read, again, on that Instagram account or any of the social media, the sneak peek. In 2011, I interviewed Grand-Père, my maternal grandfather, in Paris. It was then that the research, writing, and developing of what became Goosefeather began, and by 2014, it was clear that I had not only a complicated story to tell, but also an entertaining show that wanted to be on the road. In a time of massive, irregular human migration, intensified fear-mongering, and eroding ecological stability, I would be going around Earth, by land and sea, carrying a sustained gesture towards time, space, and love. Through a fun, 45-minute, one-woman, clown-come storytelling show full of meandering meaning, I would be bringing a question and performing a challenge. When traveling this planet, why not carry your own heart-centered prime meridian, knowing that neural networks can be trained towards kindness? As I write these paragraphs, I can look at the wall above my desk to where a map of planet Earth hangs. Upon its laminated surface, my mother tracked Goosefeather's trajectory around the planet. She used a black felt marker. My heart opens wide when acknowledging the vast network of creatures and landscapes I met along that thin ink line. The long process of bringing words to lived experience crossed valleys and peaks. With sweat and joy did I discover these sentences now set to page. My hope is that this book marks what I came to think of as a movement and an inquiry into right relation. That is, the active sensing towards mutuality and autonomy. In my thinking, how we embody and live our values can be the performance of right relation. It is a term borrowed from Buddhism and can be considered an ethical framework and ethos. As such, I ask you, dear reader, to think on this. What happens when we problematize privilege, experience pain, acknowledge the awesome, unknowable processes at play on the planet, and celebrate the many compassionate and delightful actions concurrently occurring every moment? What if then, even when the circumstances were not easy, we lived by that which we knew we loved? This world is at times heartening and at times confronting. Towards it, I raise my glass. And now, Goosefeather needs to go adventuring. Enjoy. 2011, Paris, France, 11 in the morning. Metal gives off a special smell when heating in the sun. I first noticed this in Grand-Père's living room with its large bay window overlooking Rue d'Odessa in Paris. Sunlight spread, slowly moving over my grandfather's collection of antique balance scales, each with their metal weights well organized on the apartment's wooden shelves, tables, and buffet. I breathed deep, feeling connected, gaze hovering in the dust-mote-filled space between these measuring tools, a hummingbird carved in cedar by a Coast Salish artist, and my mother's oil paintings of chrysanthemums. On one of my rare afternoons there, Grand-Père and I were arguing about the possible emergence of a new paradigm predicated on what is variably named the gift, sharing, or circular economy. One of the ways I've seen this system organize is when communities pool assets while technology takes ingenious forms: the internet, open data, social media networking, in an attempt to provide fair access to the means of production and exchange. Insistent that my life experience to date were quantifiable proof of this paradigm's value and the benefits of direct participation, I was provoking my grandfather with stories and gentle impertinence. When the corner of his mouth tugged into his easy-to-identify "I'm proud of you despite myself" smile, the feeling of love in the room intensified. Clearly, the time was right to begin the interview I'd been planning. Strategically, questions about the meter and measurement came first. These had become an obsession since he'd retired from France's Department of Customs and Immigration, and I knew he'd open up despite himself. Grandpère's blue eyes were bright with passion as he spoke about the metric system. It helped that it was a French invention, and as such, he felt proud of the ideal. Sais-tu que le mètre était à l'origine défini comme le dixième du millionième de la distance entre le pôle Nord et l'équateur? Did you know the meter was originally defined to be 1/10,000,000th of the distance between the North Pole and the equator, he said. It was meant to be based on something greater than all the imperial egos of the world, namely the Earth. La Terre. An easy metaphor for his own righteousness, the erect stand of each scale on display matched his upright spine. It was obvious he would have been happy to talk at length about his favorite topic. However, I wasn't ready for him to take control of our conversation yet. While it felt good to see him smile, I had over 100 interview questions to get through, organized into categories such as family, school life, friends, hobbies, and career. I marshaled my forces, the questions following each other in deliberate procession to finally arrive at my request for his thoughts on patrimony, thoughts on love, and thoughts on heroism. Specifically, I wanted to know how he, Aimé, Grand-Père, had saved my grandmother, Hélène, during the Second World War. She was Jewish, he was not. How and why did he take the risk? I also wanted to know why I am so stubborn. It was, perhaps, the questions about living under Nazi regime that caused Grand-Père to call the interview an interrogation. In response to questions about his motivation when helping Grand-Mère survive, he dismissed the notion of heroism, saying, "C'était simplement parce que je le voulais. Si je peux stopper une action que j'estime mauvaise, je le fais. C'est tout. Parce que je le voulais. It was because I wanted to. I felt like it. I wasn't seeking a reason. If I can stop something that I deem wrong, then I do. That's it. Simply because I wanted to." Oh, Naomi, that was a very strong opening. Thank you so much for that. I mean, if those of you at home liked, I mean, go for it, right? Like, wow, yeah. Thanks, Goose. Yeah, that's cool. I'm glad you liked it. I'm just gonna, thank you. It's so funny. Thank you so much also for all your comments and questions that are coming through on the Facebook artist page. And that's right. And also, I'd like to send everybody to the website, because guess what? I think the payment portal is open, and you should be able at this time to open up and buy a book. Somebody go and check and let me know if that payment portal is open. Oh, good. I know why I'm confused. It's because it's time for the second reading. Oh, Naomi, you're not confused. You're just navigating all these technological tools, and you're doing it in a really good way. Aw, and you're even in good time. Goose, you're the best host ever. You're like in the green room giving me reassurance, and you're also here on the screen, just kind of doing what you do. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I found what I was looking for. It's right here. If it is indeed true that the payment portal is open, that's really exciting, because we'll just put that back where it was and get on with the second reading. Yeah, would you get on with the second reading, Naomi? Okay. So for me, a really strong moment of being on an adventure and of like having actually started the project of going around the planet with no airplane, a really strong moment of that was when anchor lifted and I crossed the Pacific. Leaving Turtle Island by ocean was a pretty incredible experience. So I want to read you the passage leading up to that, and just another little shout out to Virgil and Painey in California. You hosted me so well, and Hinda and Dave. Thank you so much for your hospitality in LA. And of course, on the cargo ship, I don't know if you're streaming in at this time, there's a lot of different time zones and a lot of different circadian rhythms playing themselves out right now, and we're all working it out. And the pages of this book are so shiny. But anyways, yes, hello to Rob and to Paul and to Yanestelu and all of the electrician, everybody, and Stan on the SS Beethoven, which was the second cargo ship. The first cargo ship was the SS Bindari. So I'm going to read you from page 18. Oh, not page 18, day 18. I'd been in LA a little longer than expected because the long-haul truck drivers were on strike. So the global economy, we know it's all interlinked, and we know there's a lot of systems that could use a little, tightening, a little supply chain, a little stopgap, a little, hey, where are my people at? So day 18. The email finally arrived that I should present myself to the email finally arrived that I should present myself to Long Beach Port Authority. For this, I wore a black beret, big silver hoops, my grandfather's suit vest, and very red lipstick. With rolly suitcase in tow and seersucker knapsack on, I felt good and ready to go. Along the way, the train passed through and out of Compton as a group of young men sitting near me asserted their place in the world as masculine, independent, and more than a little revolted against the current state of affairs. A non-cis presenting petite was preparing to get off the train with their pastel fixie bike, which matched their hair, when the boys decided it was a good idea to harass them, voicing racial slurs, sexual innuendos, and subtle threats. The tension rose, and I could feel uncertainty's uncomfortable pull, tongue taut, heart alert. The person hurried off next stop, but not before one of the boys gave their bike a small shove, causing a ripple of frustration and fear to emanate from their slight frame, filling the train car. My tongue loosed itself and I tut-tut-tutted. I knew at least one had noticed me noticing them, and I knew that he knew that I was participating in the dynamic as an observer. Somehow, I knew too that this young man was with me in preferring kindness over belligerence. Solidarity, solid rarity. The alpha boy who had shoved the bike was seated in front of me and had heard the tut-tut-tut of shaming, so turned to look. His was a gaze accepted and returned. My lips fiercely red, my eyes dark, my heart clear. He and I looked at each other, both aware of our connection. I could sense my energy searching his from below, feeling towards an understanding of our chord's complex qualities, its areas of resonance and resistance, seeking its generative friction. "Are you a girl or a boy?" came the question from him. Having received this sort of genuine, earnest confusion before, and rejoicing in my gender-bent appearing state of the moment, with great regard, I flipped the question back at him. "What do you think?" The crew shuffled their feet, waiting for Alpha to reassume his certainty, yet space had been yielded to grace. We could turn away from each other and silently breathe together until it was my turn to get off. Port of Long Beach, 1620. Port Authority's check-in window is set at big rig height, and I was not seated in one. From the ground, I craned my neck, presenting myself to the controller. Once he'd understood it was normal that I was not on the captain, officer, or crew list, I was told to wait for a minibus that would drive me through the maze of stacked containers and beeping forklifts to the cargo ship itself. Once alongside, I could see a crack of ocean shining bright between hull and wharf. My eyes began to travel up from that little channel of water, up the metal shell of the great big creature I was now standing near, the SS Bindery. Up and up and up my eyes rose as I felt more and more and more and more overwhelmed at the size of the thing. I recognized that I was definitely past the point of no return on this adventure, and then my sights settled on a white guardrail far above. I gulped. Presently, a smiling face appeared over the railing. Some gesticulation made it clear that I was expected and that I should wait where I was as a short, barrel-chested man wearing heavy, white coveralls and a hard hat trotted down the very steep, very long gangway to help me with my bags and my nerves. Third officer, hi Paul. Third officer was also safety officer, the person responsible for passenger, i.e. me. Occasionally smoothing back silky bangs with his broad palm, he moved quickly as we went up in the box elevator to my quarters on deck D. I understood the necessity for efficient formalities. We probably both felt the charge between polarities caused by sharing enclosed space. Leaving my bags in the room, we went back down to the Bindery's administration office on deck A via a narrow, coiling stairwell. Third confirmed that a safety orientation was scheduled for the following day, and that we'd be lifting anchor in the early morning. I was then left to my own devices, ready or not to surrender to 21 days at sea. SS Bindery, Pacific Ocean, day 19, 6:45 in the morning. I enjoy waking up in new worlds with different game rules to discover. My quarters included toilet, shower, bedroom, and lounge, each with thick-rimmed portholes for windows. The furniture sat low-slung and functional on short pile, pale blue speckled carpet. Strips of sticky, textured faux elephant skin were on the table to prevent mugs from sliding with the ship's rocking movements. Most eye-widening were instructions on how to lash the deck chair to the floor and then the self to the chair in case of high seas. While we thankfully didn't cross paths with a storm, the Pacific never did stop rolling the vessel for the entire passage, side to side through the waves, side to side through the waves. Several times while on board, I let go of resistance to roll my body curled in a ball from wall to wall, from wall to wall, side to side with the motion of ocean, through the waves, from wall to wall. Knowing activity would be constrained while on board. I think this part is strangely relevant to the times just past. Start that paragraph again. Knowing activity would be constrained while on board and wanting to reap any practical benefits containment might afford me, I had created an aspirational spreadsheet representing a week in 168 hours. This would count towards my conscious inquiry into measurement. I had populated the grid with things to do in support of intellectual, artistic, and physical growth, as well as sleep, self-care, and eating. Every hour allocated, time had been assigned to practicing beatboxing, stretching, doing push-ups, writing, musing, and meditating, among other things. I had a reading list of academic treatises on place-based education, nomadism, and storytelling. An hour every day was also given to stitching boutonnières and fascinators from the remains of my grandfather's neckties. Offcuts from the corset making process were slowly transformed into flowers that stocked a little store. Light enough to carry, resourcefully sourced, these adornments carry a sweet, deep story within them, and felt like a good way to turn the wheel of economy. My first action was to pin the color-coded 168-hour spreadsheet on the walls of my quarters and place my felts nearby. And yeah, I'm gonna jump ahead to 3 o'clock. On the afternoon of the first day, after the scheduled safety orientation, third officer, Cookie, the new cook, and I sat together in the snug quarters of a lifeboat. Third crinkled his eyes with a smile while showing us a pack of flares, intimating that perhaps some of them would be used on New Year's. Oh yes, I exclaimed. So will you actually be organizing something fun for yourselves on board while over the holiday season? Because if yes, perhaps I could help or contribute in some way? Cookie and Third looked at me, each with raised eyebrows. I took those as encouragement, so went on. Yes, see? I'm a professional storyteller on tour around the planet. Perhaps I could make a gift of a fairy tale performance? That would be entertaining and seasonally appropriate, right? After determining that I was in fact honest and serious, third officer accepted the offer and decided we needn't wait for Christmas for this special treat. In fact, by breakfast the next morning, Third had designed, printed, and circulated flyers for the performance, which would be in 2 days. Day 21. Nearly all 24 of the Bindery's men gathered in the officer's lounge on deck G for the show. And I remember feeling easy. With my brow and heart lifted wide open, I spun a set of folk and fairy tales, each story with its kindest of invitations to dream about once upon a time when all things are possible. An hour passed quickly. Thanks, everybody. Oh, Naomi. Yes, fairy tales are the time when all things are possible. It's true, and I've been getting word that the payment portal isn't working. Well, my friends, it will. Goosefeather.ca, the website is just being refreshed now. We're working on it, and if it doesn't work tonight, it'll work tomorrow. So sorry for the technical glitch. We're doing our best over here. It's okay, Naomi. There's just one more passage from the cargo ship that I'd actually really like to read. And it's from a few days after the Goosefeather show, because after my first performance where I did the traditional folk and fairy tales, Captain, who hadn't been at the show, actually called me to his office and we negotiated a second show. I traded for goods from the bond store, including a phone call to my dad for his birthday. Hey dad, bonjour maman. Hi Gabrielle, hey sister, hey everybody. So sorry, I'm getting just a little message from my tech assistant over here. One moment, please. People want to know. Check the messages. Portals. No. Yes. Email to. So anyways, I'd done the fairy tales. Captain called me into his office. We negotiated. I traded for goods from the bond store. You can read all about it once you have an opportunity to buy the book. And it'll be $30 for the hardcover. And we'll figure out shipping if you live in a different country. Bless. So anyways, I'd done the second show, and this time it was Goosefeather, and it was amazing, and got to do a photo shoot with junior and senior electrician on the bow, which was one of my favorite places to be. And then this passage that I'm going to read you is also from the bow of the ship, the very front, where there was a deep kind of quiet and a depth that was really precious to me. So anyways, this is after that time. Day 27. A few days later, the air was dense with equator's humidity and heat. Wow, by the way, the bulge on the Earth, it's markedly hot and humid and heavy, and what a thing to cross the equator for the first time. My baptism at sea is also captured in the book. Well, twice it's captured actually in its own way. So, day 27. A few days later, the air was dense with equator's humidity and heat. I was draped over a sun-warmed coiling cog, watching great spumes of wave and spray break off either side of the Bindari's bow, enjoying a state of mild entrancement. Suddenly and briefly, just to the left of the left spume, a formation of flying fish lifted up and out of the water, with a crackly crack-slap bat-tap-tap of wings against water, then plunged back in just a bit farther ahead of the frothing foam. Quick as a rumor, they appeared again to the right of the right spume, lifting up and out of the water with a flutter-flap-tap clapping of wings, a quick and sharp staccato flicker-tap-tap, before plunging back in, barely clearing the ship's uninterrupted advance. Electrified by their speed and brilliance, I clapped and giggled, doing a little bow jump step, catching a wave as it bottomed out, bringing on my own sensation of flight. I landed, cat-like, in a crouch, grinning with glee before going back to my watch spot to see. I watched for a while, but no more little flashes of iridescence and rhythm came. Abject disappointment flooded my brain, and the Bindari's relentless advance became evidence of humanity's capacity for disregard, pulping everything on its course. Those fish, like silver torpedoes, had not been frail. Their wings and bodies were gorgeous, luminous, sinew, blood, muscle, and skin. Shiss, said the foam, as the engine powered us onwards. I stayed still and kept watch for them, the metal of coiling cod warm beneath my belly, just waiting and breathing. But no more little fish jumped up to fly. There's so much to read, and time is ticking, and I want to make sure that there's going to be enough time for the Q&A. So I think that we will just do one more part from cargo ship. I'll do one part from Shanghai. Send your questions. And here we go. Day 28. This is kind of my opportunity to use the media, these social media airwaves, to speak my mind and to indict certain systems that I don't think are tenable, that I don't think are sustainable, that I don't think are fair, that I don't think take into consideration all these multiple beautiful energies that and life forms that we can. And in the current context, with the pandemic, with the massive shakedown of all systems, with the righteous rage and wrath that's rising up through Black Lives Matters and other kind of movements, it's pretty exciting. We can really address this. So anyways, day 28. This all happened in 2015, my friends. Day 28. Junior demonstrated the responsive pie charts and graphs he had programmed into his computer. Frustration and cynicism were in his voice as he told me that those counted the days, hours, minutes, and seconds remaining until he could disembark. As his toe toyed with the empty wine bottles near his table, he explained that, once back on land, he would finish his schooling, after which his paid time aboard would officially begin. With the reality of how the global economy works, even that this is a giant floating cage, it's still the best choice for myself and my family, he said with a tight tone. Consume. Consume goods more. The shipping industry drives creative intelligence to drink. Consume. Excess. So performative writing is really hard. there's a lot going on. So every once in a while, there's these little pieces of poetry interspersed with the prose, just to give those senses of my own pauses and my own breathings. New Year's Eve, I split my time between the officer and crew lounges. Downstairs was karaoke, bad jokes, and drinking. Upstairs was cards, bad jokes, and drinking. At the stroke of midnight, officers, electricians, and engineers gathered around the wheelhouse on the top deck to cheer as Third set off those infamous flares he'd hinted at in the lifeboat. After a brief hullabaloo, the men left. Me, I remained outside, watching moon send beams onto the 1,000 dancing surfaces of ocean's wavelets, and communing with those, knew all there is light. Oh, Naomi, wow, you're communing with the light, with the moon. Oh my goodness, that's so great. Thank you so much for that. Yeah, thanks, Goose. Those are some of the things that I kind of surrender my ego to, you know? Oh yeah, I know. That's so great. Thank you so much. Oh, look at the time. It's Q&A time. Oh, wow. Okay. Everybody, don't forget, if you want to buy a book, please do send an email. Send an email off of goosefeather.ca. So you'll be sending an email to naomi@goosefeather.ca. Do you have your pen ready? You ready? You are going to send an email unless the payment portal opens, and we never know, anything is possible. If the payment portal opens, then all will be clear. And if not, just reserve a book by sending an email to naomi@goosefeather.ca. So yeah, I think that we're just getting ready. You've been sending your questions, and it's very exciting. And oh wow, we have our first question. We have our first question just beaming in from the ether webs right now. Here you go.
Hello.
Oh my gosh, hi Maharuna. How great to see you.
Good
Thank you so much.
Naomi. It's such a pleasure to be here with you and hear be a part of your book launch. And I'm excited to hear the passages. I feel like I've been a part of your journey when you started out back in 2015, and it's great to see it coming together. And in your passages, as I was hearing you read, and just so powerful, I could hear and I could see the sounds and textures and imagery and emotions. And it made me wonder about yourself. What surprised you the most about yourself on this journey, and why were you surprised?
Wow, that's a great question. I like the way you pose the question too. What surprised me most? I guess that there was a sense of I just can't believe how much time I spent kind of lying around feeling like, nah, like what am I doing? And I think that's so much part of the human condition. This way of always not being quite satisfied, or of creating misery or piling misery on top of misery. So I spent a lot of time tired. It's a lot to go on the road for 382 days, and it's a lot to be a solo artist and a working artist, and to be bringing shows, and to be doing all of your own booking, and all of your own managing, and all your own logistics, and all your own pep talking, and all your own everything, and all your own... And don't forget, Naomi, you also crafted me on the Trans-Siberian Express. That was a great, you were doing things. You had the creative juice going through. Yes, Goose, I had the creative juice going through me. You're right. And so I guess what surprised me was just that it just, that I learned so much about how beautiful people are. You know, I guess I knew it already, but then this way of just like, as soon as I could check my own misery machine and that perspective of like, bleh, then gosh, like people really showed up, and they showed up in such different ways. And so I was letting go of expectations. And so there was a real fast track to the learning curve as well. And I think maybe that's part of what's come into this time as well, where I think, you know, most people have had to engage in such a crazy learning curve. And so, yeah, I guess both the that tension between the like, am I always for the rest of my life going to be able to manufacture like glumness? And oh, I can also just like watch that and not make a mountain out of a molehill, and then boom, wow, the world opens as it does. So yeah, yeah, thanks. Do you have
That's
a
beautiful. Thank you.
yeah,
I
thanks.
hear a lot about openness. Thank you very much.
Uh, yeah, cheers. Cool. I'm getting some questions coming in on the chat here now. So let me just take a little moment to read here. How did I cope in countries where nobody, when I didn't know anybody and didn't speak the language? Um, a gesture, you know, willingness to interspecies communication, you know, just like make an effort. And yeah, Naomi, you're really good at just like making an effort and trying. Like you just jump in. Yeah, I just jump in. I don't know. It's like a beautiful asset, and it's a kind of like a, oh my goodness, like I toss myself down the highway and I just try, see where that all ends up. And so that was the coping in countries where I knew nobody and didn't speak the language, was just believing too that I have super privilege. Gosh, like I speak English, I speak French. Look at my skin tone. I was born into a great family. You know, I was raised what I would consider right. I've been cultivating an open heart. Then after that, why should people be any different anywhere on the planet? You know, we all want a roof for shelter. We all want food, some friends. You know, there's some great children's songs about that too, right? So, um, where was the best shower I had? Oh gosh, well, what's in my mind right now is actually the shower I had at Vinny's in Hong Kong. Hey, Vinny, and yeah, I had just had a couple of really hard days, like really hard days. You can read about them, and um, Vinny's apartment in Central in Hong Kong was so quiet, so peaceful, even that it was right in Central. And he'd gone out. I'd finally made it to the apartment, and he'd gone out and had about a 4 hour window of time in that apartment where I just took rest. And it was muggy and gross, and I traveled, you know, the whole morning to get there, and public transit, and it was year of the ram, and so everything was like super packed, super dense, super, oh my goodness, the metro and everything. And I was safe. And I took a shower, and the water went down the drain with all the dirt. And it was amazing. Yeah, thanks. Best shower. And I see that somebody would like to hear excerpts from different countries. I hear you. So it's, you know, we're coming up to 8:30. That's okay, I know. Um, I'm sure that there's a bunch of questions that are actually all about like quantifiables. So I'm going to read a couple more passages. We're going to do the live action signing. Don't you fret. We're going to do the live action signing. And I see that we do have a winner already. Congratulations. Wow, it's a dear old friend, Jeremy Wruhme. Thank you so much for being here, for being such a steady person through all these years whenever I randomly have technological questions. I have a lot of people to thank. So anyways, I'm just going to quickly address some of the quantifiables that might be coming up. And yeah, let me just, here we go. Yeah, okay, so I don't know how clearly you can see that, but this was also posted on social media. You can see it in a couple places. But anyways, the number of days on the road was 382. The number of border crossings was 18. The number of performances was 37. That didn't just mean Goosefeather shows. I also did traditional folk and fairy tales. It was amazing, the kinds of opportunities. The number of water bottles lost, 2. My friends, I kept track of that. Why? We are in an ecological crisis. It behooves all of us to kind of open our eyes, open our minds, be radically self-responsible, radically self-responsible, in the same way that I hope you're taking care of your needs with water and tea right now, because yeah, I'm hosting you, but I can't get you water. Exactly, Goose. So anyways, quantifiables, water bottles lost 2, modes of transportation 7, and approximate kilometers traveled, that's 55,965. It's a lot of kilometers. And again, thanks to my mom for tracking that for me. Bonjour, merci Claudine. The Pacific is huge. I hadn't even really realized how big it is until maybe a week before departure when I looked at an atlas. And Goose, you're gonna have to go move back a little bit. Sorry. Yeah, because check it out. 21 days later, I got to Australia. From Australia, there was a New Caledonia, Hong Kong, China, Japan, Russia, Norway, UK, France, Belgium, Switzerland, back to England, across the Atlantic, back to Turtle Island, Blessings, New York, docking, New York, and then the train across Canada. And all along that line, stories. So many. So I hope that answers some of your questions in terms of quantifiables and in terms of different kind of how many countries I went to and all that. So I'll just briefly read 2 more passages, and then we'll do the book signing, and that'll be that. So this is from day 122. 2200 hours, 2200 o'clock. Day 122, 2200 o'clock. Rain doesn't stop this West Coaster from going out. To get to the club, Mia gave me her cab charge card. She also gave me a slip of paper with her address written on it in phonic English and Mandarin characters. Yeah, so this is a good answer to the question of what do you do when you're in a country when you don't speak the language? Phonics might help. She also gave me, because I wanted to go bag free. Because I wanted to go bag free, my little water bottle, compact umbrella, key, and 2 slips of paper, one with club location and the other with Mia's address, went into pockets. Hey Mia, if you're watching. Click went the door. In short order, I hailed a cab, and an easy 15 minutes with only 1 turn later, we stopped at the address indicated. Out of the cab, I trailed some Shanghai characters who were also heading towards a flight of stairs with black light lit walls covered in fine neon speckles, gunge, tags, and scrawl. At the bottom, a stage hunkered at one end of the room, awaiting MCs and turntablists. I went to the back, where there was decent space for the fancy step, and stayed there until some time before the end of the show, when it felt like time to go. Grabbing my jacket from where I'd stashed it at the edge of the semi-illuminated dance floor, up the black and neon stairs I went. 1:05 in the morning. It was now raining in earnest. From under the skirt of my umbrella, I peered, but no cabs were there to hail. After some time, I realized that maybe what had appeared to be micromanaging from Mia had, in fact, been a worthwhile warning to heed. On a Friday night, in Shanghai, especially when it's raining, unless you have a particular application on your phone, it will be very difficult to get a ride. Counterintuitive as this was to me, it turned out to be true. 2 women also just out from the club agreed that I was in a bit of a tech bind, but also agreed that the mental map to Mia's I'd presented them might be accurate. I went with it in the hopes that a bus with a number I recognized would drive by. The rain falling on Shanghai's concrete streets and sidewalks formed puddles and pools in which the red, amber, green of traffic lights reflected and blinked. I associated this with hometown downtown rain, which was soothing, and as trust flowed, the night took good care of me. Not long after setting into motion, the right bus rolled by and I hopped aboard, asking driver if he knew the address noted on the crumply piece of paper just pulled from my pocket. If you're still wondering how, is just through gesture, right? Like hold up the crumply piece of paper and be like, meow. He communicated clearly it was good to stay on the bus, though he'd only be able to get me part of the way. As we neared one of Shanghai's alarmingly complex intersections, driver began to indicate more precisely what my next few steps could be. I was listening attentively to understand his mix of gaze, gesture, and sound when a taxi appeared in the bus's headlights. It stopped, and its passengers exited. Driver and I looked at each other with surprised eyes, exchanging smiles and nods. With a heartburst of gratitude, I tumbled to the street and became that taxi's next fare. Day 124. Sleep was short. The next morning, after a very long, very slow drive through the wide, congested streets of Shanghai with Mia chattering incessantly from the front seat, we said our goodbyes in the basement parking lot of Port Authority's building. Inside were 2 lineups, low-pile rug, fluorescent lighting, rows of empty chairs, and a few people sitting, fidgeting, awaiting further instructions. I joined them. Oh, I see there's so many good questions for you to answer, Naomi. Maybe take a few more. Here's one. It says, yeah, I can read it too, Goose. I'll read it off the chat in my own voice. Why? Because. Okay. So the question is, with so much travel, new places, people, etc., what kind of practices did you form to feel grounded and stable despite the constant movement? There was a practice that was actually integral to the entire project, which I committed to before leaving my home, and which might result in an addendum to this book, a kind of nomad's ethics. And I claimed this identity of a nomad partially as a year's journey. I felt it might be appropriate as an itinerant artist, but also just as a tribal person of the desert, that kind of seasonal nomadism. I felt it was okay. So anyways, as a practicing nomad's ethics was really important to me. And so to stay grounded and to stay connected to place, despite all the worlds I was going through, all the different people and personalities in that, what I committed to doing was any new place I arrived at, I would say hello to out loud. Hello, my name is Naomi Eliana Steinberg, born on the supernatural west coast of Canada, Salish territory. I hope that my actions are at best beneficial and at worst neutral. So I would do that. And then when leaving the places where I slept, I would also say thank you out loud. Because a person, a nomad, a traveler, a sojourner, any of us, we're not just seeking connection and hospitality with each other, with other creatures. We're also doing so seeking connection and hospitality from place, from landscapes, from this good earth. And so that was a huge part of my practice. And in fact, I think I'm going to do the last reading. I'm seeing all these beautiful questions, and I know there's a lot of requests for more readings, and I would love to. However, I also want you to buy the book, and I want the payment portal to open, and I'm not sure what's happening, so let me just go check right now. And wow, I'm seeing here in my email that there's a lot of you that have bought the book in this way. Thank you so much. And what do I do here? Oh, so this is good news. At 2007, the good people, AJ at Card, thank you to Card so much for your support. The good folks there have told me that in half an hour, that was at 8 o'clock, the payment portal should be open. So there we go. That's some good news. Hopefully that's true. And if not, just keep sending those emails and we'll keep doing that. And for now, what I'd like to do is one more reading. And I would like to take right again from towards the beginning of the book, but it's from my time in France, because this whole story was researched between 2011 and 2014, essentially. So it started 2011 with the interview with my grandfather, and it started 2011 with interviewing my grandfather, and then I developed the piece. But I also went to the south of France, to the village of Roussillon, which is where my grandfather hid my grandmother during the Second World War, and other members of the family as well. And again, given this tremendous time of change and possibility that we're in, and again, it's on each of us to bring it. So I'm going to read this last passage, and then we'll do some other little magic tricks. And I'm so grateful to each of you for being here. So this is Roman numeral, that's right, Roman numeral, page 3. Roman numeral, page 3. And it's, what day? Oh, it's before the days, because the journey hasn't, it's all the preamble, right? So anyways, Roussillon. Roussillon, where ochre is mined, is a place whose earth tones vary from warm yellow through orange to vibrant red pigments with occasional veins of black and white. The soil is a mixture of clay and sand, popular with potters, and there are several poteries offering hospitality just outside the village. After finding a room in one, I sought leads to anyone in the region who might have wartime era stories. Madame Georgette was recommended. Knocking on her door near the village square shortly before lunch the next day, on the presumption she would be home cooking, I was rewarded when a white-haired, stocky woman wearing a sturdy cotton dress invited me to come back the next morning for coffee. At that time, I found 3 elderly women awaiting me, seated on an overstuffed couch, the sound of a ticking wall clock filling the room. They were generous when sharing memories, stories, and folklore. Madame Georgette remembered Grand-Père and how he would miss the first few weeks of school every year to help with the wheat, olive, and grape harvest. The 3 had remembrances of denunciations, deaths, and deprivations during the war, and they talked of a little golden saint buried at the edge of the forest. The mesdames also explained to me where the soil's color comes from. Il était une fois que, once upon a time it was that, love, amour, gave its warm blood to earth. Là, it mixed with iron ore, et l'ocre vient au monde. Ochre came to be. Legends and folklore explaining phenomenological experience are special. Stories associated with landscapes carry deep teachings, technologies, and medicines within their images. The story of Roussillon entered my mind like a seed from which curiosity grew. It got me wondering about connection to place and about indigeneity. What is it to feed from, give our blood to, and be buried in place over generations? As this was my first time on the land, I wanted to know how to best engender a relationship of care and respect. How was right relation enacted? Given the family's history, did part of me belong to this land? Was there a square meter between longitudes and latitudes to which I could incontestably claim to be connected? With which tools is belonging measured? When the three commères du village spoke about being de ici, of the terroir, it was with certainty of gesture and ferocity in gaze that their pride and clarity manifested themselves. This time is remembered as an experience of the blood-red, wet heart of me, humming and thrumming, alive. Naomi, Naomi, Naomi. Thank you. Thank you. That's great. We're gonna just, once you find your pen, we're gonna do the book signing. But I found my pen. It fell on the floor. I've been seeing all these amazing questions coming, and it's incredible that there's so much interest and so much curiosity. Somehow I'm not surprised. I'm curious myself about all of this. So I will do my best to answer in a timely manner, both on the YouTube comments as well as on my artist page and anywhere else where these questions have appeared. I will do my best to answer in a timely manner. If any of you have posed questions through email, also I'll do my best. I'm excited to begin posting these books to you. I have a fresh ISBN number inside this book. And you know how I was talking about the giveaway, how that's a wisdom indigenous to these beautiful Coast Salish lands, and that I'm so privileged and lucky and fortunate and happy to have learned that your wealth is measured by how much you can give away, and that you all, Jeremy Wruhme, you won because you're gonna somehow, I'm gonna dedicate this book and sign it for the person that you think would enjoy reading it. Well, that's actually this crisp copy. This one that I've been using for this book launch, I'm also going to give away. And so we're double practicing. It's like being double happy or something. And so here we go. This book signing that you've all been so excitedly waiting for. How's it gonna work? Live action book signing. Maybe not like that. Maybe like that. Yes, I. Hey. Hey. Yeah, just like that. Honk, honk, honk. Hey, if you say honk, no. If I say honk, you say honk out there in social media land. If I say honk, you say honk. Honk, 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 Okay, 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 Goose. We got it, we got it, we got it. Here we go. I'd like to point out that this is self-published and that there actually is a design error right here on the first page that I'd like to just include as part of my signature. Here we go. So that happened. And we're going back here. With kindness. Yeah, we did it. Hey, hey, we did it. Just a little last pieces of business. Thank you so much, everybody, for being here. Big shout out and thank you to all the people who have helped me technically. That's Chloe and Jessica from Mind of a Snail, David Eamon, Separ Samini, and also Meharuna. Thank you so much for being willing to Zoom in with me in your room. Or in the Zoom room, I should say. And thank you so much to the Generative Nest and to my roommates. If you're watching right now, wherever you are, thank you for your support and the space that you've given me. I'm really enjoying the groove that we're in right now in the house. And thank you so much to the Goose. Thank you so much, Goose. I've been loving you since Russia. So, from Russia with love. So now let's just put some music back on. I'm sorry if there's any feedback. I think it should work. And let's take that tour. Huh. These are some more of Shiho's beautiful Kamishibai illustrations. That's the cargo ship. And that's a little illustration from Jordan Banks.